I was sitting in my office, the city skyline glittering just beyond the glass wall, when my phone started buzzing for the third time in less than an hour. I almost ignored it. After all, my calendar was packed, and I had a presentation to finalize, but something in my chest told me to look. The caller ID made my stomach twist, Mom. I hesitated. Smoothing the sleeve of my silk blouse like the fabric itself might give me courage. When I finally answered, her voice came broken, drenched in tears. "Emily, it's your brother. He's dying. Without a kidney, he won't make it." Her words dropped like stones into my chest, each syllable dragging me back to a place I thought I'd left behind years ago. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. My pen slipped from my hand, rolling across the polished oak desk. I stared at the city lights, strong, steady, untouchable, while I felt myself unraveling. I loved my brother once, or at least I wanted to, but the years had left bruises invisible to everyone but me. Still, hearing Mom sob like that, it pierced through the layers of distance I'd built. "I'll do it," I whispered before I could stop myself. The words tasted like surrender. But later that night, when I picked up her tablet from the kitchen counter, the screen flickering to life under my fingertips, everything I thought I knew, every tear, every plea, suddenly cracked wide open. I wasn't always this composed, the woman with a corner office and a city view. Once, I was just a girl desperate for someone to notice me, desperate for someone to choose me over him. Back then, everything in our house revolved around my brother, Jason. If he caught a cold, Mom called the doctor twice. If he got a C on a test, Dad blamed the teacher. Meanwhile, when I brought home straight A's, they barely looked up from their plates. I used to sit there, fork in hand, cheeks burning, waiting for a "good job, Emily." It never came. The worst was my 16th birthday. I'd been practicing for months, planning to play a song on the old piano in our living room. Grandma had taught me the piece, her fingers guiding mine across the keys when I was little, whispering, "Don't ever stop shining, sweetheart. Even if no one claps, keep shining." That night, I wore a pale blue dress and painted my nails with trembling hands. But just as I started playing, Jason stormed in with his football buddies, shouting, laughing, grabbing everyone's attention. Mom rushed to bring them snacks, Dad beamed at him, and my music drowned under the noise. I kept pressing the keys, tears slipping down my face, until I couldn't anymore. I slipped away to my room, clutching the little silver locket Grandma had given me, the one I still keep. Inside was her picture and words she scribbled on a slip of paper. "Shine, Emily." That night, something inside me snapped. I realized no matter what I did, I'd always be invisible in that house. 2 weeks later, I applied for a part-time job at a bookstore downtown. Mom said it was silly. Dad said I should focus on helping Jason succeed. But I smiled, nodded, and kept the secret. For the first time, I felt a flicker of independence. Walking down that street, the evening air crisp against my cheeks, my heart pounding with both fear and freedom, I knew I was going to build a life of my own. A life where I didn't have to beg for applause. And I wasn't going to tell them a damn thing. The bookstore job became my first taste of real freedom. The smell of coffee brewing in the corner, the soft rustle of pages, the bell that jingled every time a customer walked in, it all felt like a sanctuary. I stocked shelves, rang up purchases, and read novels during my breaks. For the first time, my value wasn't measured against Jason's shadow. One evening, after closing, the owner, a sharp, silver-haired woman named Margaret, asked me to help with inventory. She watched me work, noticed how carefully I organized titles, how quickly I caught mistakes in the ledger. "You've got an eye for detail," she said, her voice kind but firm. "Don't waste it on people who can't see you." That sentence became a lifeline. Under her mentorship, I started learning more than just books. She taught me about business margins, customer service, the importance of presentation. I stayed late, sometimes until my hands ached from writing, my eyes blurry from numbers. On the bus ride home, I would press Grandma's locket against my palm, reminding myself, "Shine." Of course, there were nights I wanted to quit. When bills piled up, when I caught sight of my reflection in the shop window and thought, who am I kidding? I wasn't Jason, the golden child, the future star. I was just me. But then small wins began to bloom. My first suggestion for a window display doubled weekend sales. Margaret trusted me to open the store alone. Customers started asking for me by name, smiling when I recommended a book that fit their soul like a glove. And slowly, I began to believe I had something to offer. When Margaret retired, she handed me more than just her blessing. She offered me the chance to co-own the store. My savings weren't much, but I said yes with trembling hands. That little bookstore became my launching pad. I poured myself into it, hosting readings, bringing in local authors, creating a cozy cafe corner. Every detail mattered. Every choice felt like laying a brick in a home I was building for myself. Within 3 years, the store was thriving. Then came expansion, a second location, then a third. I learned about online sales, negotiated with publishers, even pitched investors. The girl who once whispered at a piano now stood in conference rooms, shoulders squared, voice steady. And yet, to my family, I remained the quiet, struggling daughter. When Mom called, I'd mention a job at a shop, never hinting at ownership. When Dad asked if I needed help, I'd laugh it off, saying I was managing. I posted modest pictures online. Never the luxury apartment, never the gala dinners, never the tailored suits. Because part of me still needed to protect that success. To keep it mine. They had chosen blindness for so long. I decided to let them keep it until the day their desperation forced them to look. The night Mom called about Jason's failing kidneys, her voice still echoes in my chest. Desperation, trembling, a mother's grief. It was the kind of sound that makes you feel cruel for even hesitating. I said yes without thinking, my heart racing, guilt pressing heavy on my ribs. But guilt has a way of blinding you. When I stopped by her house a few days later, she was sitting at the kitchen table, dabbing her eyes with a crumpled tissue. Jason was upstairs, apparently too weak to come down. I told her I'd make tea. That's when I noticed her tablet lying unlocked on the counter, screen lit with emails. I shouldn't have looked. I know that. But something, a whisper in my gut, told me to. And what I found made my knees buckle. Thread after thread of messages between Mom and Jason. Not about dying. Not about desperation. But about me. Emily owes us this. She's always had it easier than she admits. She should feel lucky to finally do something useful. And then, buried deeper, financial statements, insurance papers, even a message about how Jason might get compensated for his suffering if I donated. Compensated. Like my body was just currency in his golden boy world. The tablet shook in my hands. My breath came in shallow gasps. All those tears, all that pleading, it wasn't love. It was manipulation, polished and perfected, the same way it had been my entire life. When Mom walked back in, her face drained as she realized what I'd seen. For the first time, she looked small to me. Not powerful, not tragic, just small. Emily, she started, reaching out, but I snapped the tablet shut. No, my voice surprised me. Low, steady, almost cold. Not this time. That night, I didn't cry. I didn't beg. I went home, poured a glass of wine, and stared out at the city from my floor-to-ceiling windows. The reflection staring back at me wasn't the forgotten girl at the piano anymore. It was a woman who had built an empire from the ground up. So when they showed up at my office the following week, Mom clutching Jason's arm like he might collapse any second, I didn't flinch. I watched them step into my world, the sleek lobby, the abstract art on the walls, the quiet hum of assistants moving with purpose. They had expected a cramped back office, maybe a modest desk job. Instead, they were ushered past glass doors etched with my name. Emily Carter, founder and CEO. Their faces. Oh, I'll never forget them. Jason's jaw slack, Mom's lips parting as if she might choke on the silence. Their eyes darted to the tailored suit I wore, the shelves lined with awards, the photos of me shaking hands with authors and investors. Finally, Jason stammered, This is yours? I leaned back in my chair, crossing one leg over the other, letting the silence stretch just long enough to sting.
Yes.
All of it. I watched the truth crash over them. Every dismissal, every slight, every year they told me I was less, it all stood in this room. Undeniable. Mom's eyes filled, but this time with something different.
Not sorrow.
Not love.
Shame.
And for the first time in my life, I didn't shrink under it. I let her feel every ounce. Jason was the first to break the silence. So what? You're rich now, and suddenly you're better than us. His words were sharp, defensive, the same tone he'd used when we were kids, and I dared to challenge him. I studied him for a long moment. His skin was healthy, his frame solid, not the image of someone clinging to life. The emails had told me the truth, but seeing him now only cemented it. He wasn't dying. He was just entitled. I'm not better, I said softly. I'm different. I became someone without your help, without Mom's approval, without anyone but myself. Mom's hand trembled on the arm of the chair. Emily, please. He's your brother. We're family. Family takes care of each other. I leaned forward, elbows on the desk, my pearl bracelet catching the light. Family doesn't manipulate. Family doesn't lie. If you want me to consider helping, things are going to change. Jason scoffed. Conditions? For your own brother? Yes, I said firmly. Conditions. I laid them out one by one, my voice calm, deliberate. First, honesty. No more lies. No more playing me like a pawn. If you need something, you ask for it straight. Jason rolled his eyes, but I didn't waver. Second, accountability. Jason, you're 32. You need to get a job, support yourself, stop leaning on Mom like a child. If I donate anything, time, money, or, God forbid, a kidney, it will be for someone who's willing to stand on his own 2 feet. He shifted uncomfortably, and I caught the first crack in his armor. And third, I said, turning to Mom, you stop treating me like I'm invisible. I don't need your praise anymore. I built my life without it. But if you want a relationship with me, you're going to show respect. Not just when you need something. Always. The room went quiet. I could hear the faint ticking of the clock on the wall, the muffled footsteps of my assistant outside. Mom's lips trembled, tears gathering again. But this time, they weren't manipulative. They were raw.
Real.
Emily, I didn't realize. Yes, you did. I interrupted, my tone even. You just didn't care. Until now. I let the silence linger, heavy and unflinching. For the first time, they were the ones shrinking under my gaze. Finally, I leaned back and folded my hands. So here's the deal. I'm willing to help, but only if you change. Otherwise, you'll walk out of this office the same way you came in, with nothing from me. Jason opened his mouth to argue, but one look from me silenced him. I had the power now, and we all knew it. The weeks that followed were quieter than I expected. For once, there were no frantic calls, no guilt-soaked voicemails. Jason actually got a job, entry level, nothing glamorous, but it was work. And Mom, she began reaching out differently. Instead of demands, she sent small messages. How are you today? Or I'm proud of you, Emily. I didn't trust it at first. Years of neglect don't vanish overnight. But I noticed her trying. She even visited the bookstore one Saturday, wandering the aisles like she was seeing me for the first time. When she stopped at the cafe counter, she ordered a latte and whispered, "This place feels like you."
Warm.
Strong. It was the closest she'd ever come to saying she admired me. As for me, I spent nights on my balcony, the city buzzing below, the silver locket warm in my hand. I'd open it, touch Grandma's photo, and remember the night of that piano song, the night I decided to stop waiting for applause. She had been right all along. Shine, even if no one claps. Now, people clapped. Investors, customers, entire rooms full of strangers. But the applause that mattered most came from inside me. From the woman I had built, brick by brick, through tears and exhaustion, through silence and strength. I still hadn't decided about the kidney. Maybe I never would. But for once, the decision was mine, not theirs. And that freedom was worth more than anything. One evening, as the sun melted gold against the horizon, I caught my reflection in the glass. I smiled. Not the tight, brittle smile of the forgotten girl, but the calm, confident smile of someone who had finally taken her place in the world. And in that moment, I whispered the words I wished Grandma could hear. I don't just shine now. I blaze.